Okay. So our next paper is by Dr. Samir El Zahara. He is a professor of English at the Department of English in Ben Messi, Casablanca. In 2008, he took charge of the Ben Messi Community Museum, which was created in collaboration with KSU. Ever since, he's been training students in museum studies, taking them, when possible, to different places, both nationally and internationally, for fieldwork training. Today, Dr. El Azhar, today his work is going to be presented by Dr. Samira Rguibi. Thank you. Are you on? You want this one?
Can you hear me? Thank you, Christie. So, as you can have noticed right in my question, in this morning's panel, I said that my colleagues would say that I behave, or they would consider me as a department chair doing really very serious work, as if I am a man. Today, I am presenting and behaving as a man, because my colleague's paper is on something really about women, but his name is Samir, just by coincidence, and my name is Samir. So this presentation seeks to highlight the important contribution of female artists in Moroccan visual arts. It deals with the access of women to the visual art, the successive groups of female artists since the independence of the country, and the challenges that these artists have been facing. Creative work in the harem. In the Arab Muslim worlds, women were historically associated with the harem. For more cultural than religious considerations, women were compelled to spend their lives within the walls of the harem. Regardless of their family positions, wives, daughters, mothers, or servants, they had to perform their household duties that often seemed to them mere dull work. However, despite this housework, they managed to transcend their restricted lives by indulging in more refined artistic productions. They took refuge in some artistic activities that made them figuratively go beyond the walls of the harem and enjoy freedom. From utilitarian production to artistic culture, throughout Moroccan's history, Moroccan women have preserved rich, tangible cultural heritage. They have woven carpets, embroidered silk and cotton fabric, decorated pottery and leather products, manufactured jewelry, made tattoos and henna on the skin, designed and embellished clothes. For women mastering the skills and techniques, the transition from the creation of utilitarian material culture to producing artwork was easy and smooth. Instead of working on objects for everyday use, they created works for artistic contemplation. From mere women performing utilitarian activities, they became artists who produced long-lived works of art. Out of this social context, the first women artists emerged. In 1916, it was rare for women to engage in artistic pursuits. Not well acquainted with art, only a handful of women used visual art to express themselves. According to Farid Zahi, a Moroccan woman art critic, these pioneers were either wives of painters, Fatima Hassan, mothers of painters, Shaibiya, the mother of the painter Talal, or Rabia, the mother of the painter Milud, or daughters of painters, Fatima al-Wadri. Other pioneers were in one way or another in contact with European culture and were encouraged by Europeans to use the brush, paint, and the table easel, which was a quite new experience for women, used to producing utilitarian crafts in the domestic sphere. A prominent figure of this period is Mariam Mzian. Although Mariam Mzian spent a long period of her life in Spain, she never forgot her native country. That was omnipresent in her paintings. She borrowed her topics, colors, and forms from her native place, the Rif Mountains. She was inspired by the beauty of the landscape, the generosity of the people, and the ancestral traditions. She painted Moroccan people, especially Moroccan women, in their everyday lives, clothes, jewelry, weddings, traditions, etc. Mohammed Adib Slawi believes that her paintings were mostly characterized by transparent realism concerned with geometric spheres and landscapes. Amazigh, Saharan, Farsi, and Tetwani women with their costumes, jewelry, and social traditions, which made her works acquire a special ethnographic and cultural vision. Another pioneer is Shams Dha Ata Allah, who was the first Moroccan female artist to graduate from a Moroccan school of the Beaux-Arts in Tétouan in 1960. In the same year, she organized her first exhibition following the Agadir earthquake in February 1960, which destroyed the whole city, killing 15,000 and injuring more than 25,000 people. She generously offered the money of the sold paintings to the victims of this earthquake. Since then, she has devoted her art to helping some associations, such as those of cancer and brain surgery, who need financial support. Shams Dha paints Moroccan faces and portraits with special interest in Moroccan women, Moroccan weddings, Moroccan working in the countryside, and their hard everyday life, etc. She has organized exhibitions both nationally and internationally. Both Mariam Mizian and Shams Dha Ata Allah belong to the group of female artistic pioneers that included Fatima Hassan, Shaibiya Talal, Malika Agznay, and Latifa Tijani. In a chronological way, the second generation of Moroccan female painters is made of the following artists: Khadija Tanana, Nafisa Bjelloun, Benhila Bergagia, Fouzia Ksous, Nadia Boulaish, Najat Al-Khatib, to name only a few. The third generation comprises the following names: Ikram Al-Qabbaj, Riem Al-Labi, Nawaz Saqat, Mahasin Al-Harsh, Mariam Al-Alj, Asma Alami, Kunza Bjelloun, Mona Sharat, and many others. To discuss the artistic experiences of these female artists, I have thought it is convenient to sort the list of these generations out into four distinct groups: naive painters, autodidact painters, those who have received an academic artistic education, and those who have rebelled against former scholastic artistic conventions. The first group that belongs to naive arts includes Shaibiya Talal, Fatima Hassan Farouj, Benhila Gragia, Fatima Najm, Fatima Al-Bakouri, and Kenza Mukdasni. To deal with the major characteristic of this trend, I have chosen Shaibiya Talal as a representative of this group, because I believe any discussion of naive art in Morocco without a reference to Shaibiya Talal would be shallow and superficial. Naive art has been described as simple, unaffected, and unsophisticated. Usually specifically refers to art made by artists who have had no formal training in an art school or academy. In addition to this, naive works, according to Encyclopedia Britannica, are often extremely detailed, and there is a tendency towards the use of brilliant, saturated colors rather than more subtle mixtures and tones. There is also a characteristic absence of perspective, which creates the illusion that figures are anchored in space, with the result that figures in naive paintings are often floating. Shaibiya Talal was unquestionably the most famous Moroccan painter of the 20th century. She is ranked among the greatest painters of the world, like Miro, Picasso, and Modigliani, to name only a few. She's the only Moroccan painter whose work are listed on the stock exchange. Her paintings can sell up to more than $100,000. Born in 1929 in a village near Jadida, a coastal town on the Atlantic, Shaibiya's childhood was cut short by an early marriage when she was only 13 years old. At the age of 15, the young woman was already a widow and mother of a child. To raise her child, she worked as a housemaid in several French households. She underwent hard social conditions to make a living. When Fatima al-Mernissi interviewed her in 1985 and asked her how she earned her living before she discovered paintings, Shaibiya answered, "What do you want me to do? What can an illiterate woman like myself do? I cleaned, washed, and swept houses. I did what I had to do earnestly. But I had a feeling that I had to go somewhere and put an end to all that." Her son, Hussein Talal, left Morocco for France, where he studied visual art. He returned to Morocco and became a famous painter himself. Two important events changed Shaibiya's life. According to her, in 1963, when she was 25 years old, she had a dream. Someone offered her some paint, papers, and brushes and asked her to paint. Another event that was a turning point in her life was her encounter with Pierre Gaudibert, the French art critic. Her son, Hussein Talan, invited Pierre Gaudibert to have lunch at home to show him some of his paintings. Shaibia told the French critic that she also painted. When he saw her drawings and paintings, he was more interested in her works than in those of her son. From 1966 until her death, Shaibia exhibited in Paris, Copenhagen, Ibiza, Rotterdam, New York, Tokyo, and many other capitals. In 2003, she was awarded the gold medal from the French Academy Society for Education and Encouragement. She died in Casablanca in 2004 at the age of 75 years. The second group is that of autodidact female artists. Unlike the first group, whose members have not received any schooling, autodidact artists are cultivated women who have worked either as doctors, architects, civil servants, etc., but have left their jobs and become artists. This group comprises Aisha Ahagdan, Aziza Jamal, Leila Shaqawi, Raja Al-Atlasi, Nufisa Ben Jelloun, Nadia Khayali, Jamila Ayashi, Asma Al-Alami, Fatiha Al-Tahiri, etc. These painters did not have any formal art education. Of different ages and horizons, they started painting and improved themselves throughout their careers by attending art training, workshops. As an example of this set, I have selected the experience of Raja Al-Atlasi. Raja Al-Atlasi was born in 1965 in Casablanca. After university studies in French literature, she had created theoretical sets before she moved to painting. She was spotted at an exhibition under the title Screens of Contemporary Artists, organized by the collector and gallery owner Daniel Couturier and Forney Library in Paris. She exhibited in the United Arab Emirates in 2003, in Netherlands in 2007, in France and in Morocco. The third group is a large area of artists that had a formal academic education, either in Morocco or abroad. These artists spent according to the scientific rules and academic techniques they acquired at art schools. I have chosen the artistic itinerary of Malika Agznay to highlight the experience of artists who have received academic artistic schooling. Malika Agznay was born in Marrakesh. She had studied sociology before she entered the School of the Beaux-Arts of Casablanca, from which she graduated in 1970. In 1978, she was invited to the International Festival of Asela, where she learned the art of engraving. She encountered engraving artists and art professors, such as Mohamed Omar Khalil and Robert Blackburn. From there, she traveled to New York to study engraving in the workshop of Mohamed Omar Khalil and Robert Blackburn. She also attended the counterpart workshop in Paris, conducted by the artists Hector Saunier and Juan Volanderes. This workshop is known worldwide for the special technique of the colors of Haiter. Since then, she has practiced this discipline in painting as well as in sculpture. The fourth group is made of female artists who rebelled against artistic academic techniques. This tendency is referred to as contemporary art. This group comprises Ikram Al-Qabbaj, Kanzab Al-Jelloun, Reem Al-Labi, Muna Sharad, Fatiha Al-Tahiri, and many others. In 1990s, another era began. A new King Mohammed V, a new family code, and Mudawana, a new concept of power, more freedom of expression, new technologies, computer and internet, and new means of communication, social media. Like in other sectors of life, artists in general and female artists in particular responded to these changes and adopted new ways to express themselves. Hence, a new trend named contemporary art emerged. Diverse and electric. Contemporary art is a rebellion against the academic techniques of the third group, and it is distinguished by the lack of uniform organizing principle of well-defined characteristics. In its most basic sense, the term contemporary art refers to art, namely painting, sculpture, photography, installation, performance, and video art produced today. Though seemingly simple, the details surrounding this definition are often a little bit fuzzy, as different individuals' interpretation of today may widely vary. Contemporary art marks a break with modern art. It is a rebellion against the the spatial frontiers, while modern art is related to indoor spaces, contemporary art is related to outdoor spaces. In a sense, modern artists create their works in their workplaces and display them in galleries and museums. Contemporary artists, however, create their artistic works in factories, streets, and markets and exhibit them in open public spaces. In Morocco, a new group of contemporary artists emerged between 1990 and 2013. They were brought together by their sharp criticism of political and social institutions. With the rise of conservatism and the risk of suppressing individual freedoms, Kenza Benjelloun devoted all her works to advocating for greater freedoms. After the Arab Spring, the growth of fundamentalism and the expansion of radicalism, Kenza Benjelloun devotes her art to advocating human rights in general and freedom of expression and women's rights in particular that seem to be threatened with the rise to power of conservative movements and parties. She therefore criticizes polygamy, sexual harassment, sexual abuse, teenage marriage, and any other forms of social injustice that women are still subject to. In her last exhibition, Le Qadi de la Mudouana, Kenza Benjelloun tackles these social issues in a satire way. The title of this exhibition is highly symbolic. She has used the Arabic word qadi as a pen. It is a play on words, on the notion of qadi. The word qadi in French means authority of a supermarket, and in Arabic, the word qadi means a judge. Because the issue discussing the teenager marriage, she criticizes the new family code in Mudouana that gives the judge the right to accept such a marriage. He is considered the only authority empowered to permit or deny this marriage. When she consents to such a marriage, the Qadi judge, according to her, becomes a Qadi, authority that delivers fresh meat as it is seen in her artistic work. The Qadi de la Mudouana is a multidimensional and innovative event that includes digital creations, installations, performances, and videos. This exhibition reveals an artist faithful to her artistic conviction, deliberately opts for her foreign arts of protest. Her social criticism of the status of women in Moroccan society focuses on the female body. She represents how this female body is seen by men and also by the laws, traditions, and social representations. She satirizes and ridiculizes the different facets of mentality and social representations of this society. Now I move to some challenges, and the status of women has evolved since the beginning of the 20th century. Social, legal, economic, and cultural changes have occurred, allowing women to play active roles in society. In 2011, Constitution explicitly calls for gender equity. The men and the women enjoy equality, the rights and freedoms of civil, political, economic, social, cultural, and environmental character. The implementation of this gender equality is, however, very slow, especially in the artistic world. So this presentation is a glimpse of the contribution of female artists in Moroccan visual arts over the last 60 years. Talented, motivated, and dedicated, they have devoted their time and energy to representing from their perspective Moroccan social and cultural realities on their paintings. To avoid any exclusive interpretation, it is important to note that Moroccan artistic production is characterized by its diversity in techniques, trends, and contents. The Moroccan art scene includes, regardless of their gender, artistic of different political convictions, plastic genres, and artistic movements, which has made Moroccan artists experience rich and variety. Art is a human experience that transcends the limiting considerations of gender and frontiers. Thank you very much.